So hello guys, welcome back again to this wonderful space. And the question of today, or what today I want to look at, is no, in Kenya we are lucky to maybe to again for the second time to vie for the African Union chairmanship, for which the proposed candidate, who is by the President, His Excellency William Samoei Ruto, is Raila Amolo Odinga. But the question is, will Raila Amolo Odinga be able to succeed, or will he suffer a second loss, or not a second loss, because in many elections he has lost the presidential election for the fifth time, or is it the sixth? So the question that I have today is, will Raila Amolo Odinga be able to become the chair for the African Union? That's the question. Um, I've seen, or I've done some research, I've seen some videos concerning how stiff the competition is in the African Unionship. And now this makes me question if democracy is really the best type of choosing leaders. Because I did some research or a video previous to this explaining why democracy is not something that's perfect. Why democracy is a wrong choice. Of course, we are given the decision of choosing our own leaders, but equally it has its own problem. We have something to do with rigging. We have a lot of stealing of elections. Sometimes people do whatever it takes so that they can satisfy their own interest. But again, we as the people that elect people, we don't like good leaders. That's a fact. We Kenyans do not like good leaders. We want leaders who are influential, or people who make headlines, or watu wa sarakasi, people that will never cease to amaze us. We choose people who have influence. We have ourselves, we have people who are darlings that we personally prefer, rather than even looking how competent they are. For example, we have had Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. He has been able to for the longest time to compete for the presidential candidate, and this does not mean that I've not said is good, but the reason, if truly he serves God, and I don't know why God does not allow him to be a leader. Maybe there's something that God sees that we do not see. Secondly, is because this person has been loved. This person has made, or has put in check four governments, or let's say five. We have the Moise government, we have the Kibaki government, we have the Uru's government, and now the governance of William Samoei Ruto. But with all of them, they have not managed to counter him or to get rid of him. So what do they end up doing? They end up getting into a coalition together. Secondly, people seem to love this guy, that when people fail to support him, they suffer politically, and also their political journeys seem to end. For example, in exception of William Samoei Ruto, but remember, William Samoei Ruto is a Kalenjin. So, but for these other political, or other brilliant leaders from the Nyanza region or the Lake region, have not, if they go against the will of His Excellency Raila Amolo Odinga, they do suffer a lot with him. We have like Orengo. When Orengo decided that he was going to vie for presidency and not support Raila Amolo Odinga, he lost. He lost the position. Secondly, we have had is it like I had someone say that Raila does not like brilliant people. We have like Babu. Isn't that they are not given that better positions? We have like Edwin Sifuna. Now Edwin Sifuna is equally frustrated, and again he cannot go against His Excellency Raila Amolo Odinga. But today, that's not the topic of today. Today, I wanted to look as um, I was just giving a brief descriptions. We have had this person who we have believed a lot to at least has made people to go to streets so that we can fight for our rights. But what does he end up doing when his interests are put at first? He goes on to negotiate with these governments, leaving people who have bloods, who have sacrificed their lives, who have sacrificed a lot, and he ends up putting his interest in the table. And those issues that were addressed, or those issues people went onto the table that resulted to the protest or to that resulted to these frustrations are not addressed. But because people love him, they just couldn't. But today, that's not what I wanted to focus on. Today is the question of, as I've started, is will he be able to succeed to take the African Unionship? For me, I see the democracy or the will of choosing the people that we want is not the best. And remember, the African Union, we do have Islamic states. We do have the African Union election mostly at the top, because that's what it affects. Even in Kenya, it's affected by regions when it gets to the top. Now we have a division of number one, countries that are in Islamic state, where they decide to support their own people from the Islamic state. Secondly, we do have from the language that they speak. Remember, Africa, all of us do not speak English. Some are French speakers, some speak different languages that unite them. And it happens that Africa, most countries do not speak English, because we have some that speak Swahili, we have some that speak French, we have some that speak other languages that maybe people prefer superior. Now, back to when we were vying for the African Unionship with Amina Mohammed, they said Musa Faki was not a preferred candidate by that particular time. But because we do not look at what people bring to the table, I'm not saying because I'm an African, I'm speaking because it's a fact. That's how it is. Because Amina did not happen to come from a French-speaking nation, and maybe probably was a Kenyan, Musa Faki was the most preferred. But when it started, they did not say that it was not among the most preferred candidate, but they ended up choosing Musa Faki. Now, we have had Raila Amolo Odinga, who has been endorsed by the president himself, and they have welcomed all other states to, we have like the East Africa, we have Museveni, we have the Tanzania, and other nations to support Raila's bid for the African Unionship. At first, he was the most preferred candidates, having served in the AU as a to oversee infrastructure and other positions that I don't know if he has held. So he has an history with the African Unionship. But once the for Djibouti, the preferred candidate for Djibouti stood up, at first he was not the most preferred. But currently, he has happened to be the foreign minister for Djibouti, and he happens to come from maybe is able to speak French, is able to communicate well, where they say that Raila Amolo Odinga has a translator who is able to translate on his behalf. So this means that currently, when they started, Raila was the most preferred, but when so far where we are, the candidate for Djibouti is now the most preferred because he has been endorsed. But because he's short, the Islamic State decided to support him. Kenyans, we are not an Islam state, but we do have and respect the Muslim and their religion and their beliefs. Secondly, the Christians themselves are not united to support Raila Amolo Odinga. Secondly, Raila said he has a translator, so he cannot be able to convince people who are not able to speak English properly. So this limits him. This limits him against or towards speaking an appropriate language or to sell his ideas to other people. So the French-speaking nations are likely to select this other person from Djibouti. That's why I say that democracy is not always the right way to go, because people have their preferences, because someone is from a French-speaking nation, because someone maybe is an Islam or a Christian. Like I said, there are some countries where Christians cannot become presidents just because he's a Christian, just because the majority are other religions. So as I said, democracy is not the best. And sometimes I see, then unless a miracle happens like for Musa Fati, then Raila Amolo Odinga is going to win. So thank you. Let's meet next time. Let's discuss this thing. Let's maybe suggest what you think, which is the most appropriate type of governorship that is going to work for us, in the exception of the democracy that we do believe. So let's meet next time. Let's talk next time. That was my idea about the African Unionship.